Welcome to the Bike Shed. I'm Peter.
I'm Devan.
Today we're going to run through a few commuting essentials, tips, what you need, what you maybe don't need.
Yeah, let's start off with picking the right bike. That would be tip number one. So really looking at where you're going. Are you sticking strictly to the road? Are you going to go a bit of off-road? Is it a steep hill to your place of work?
No curbs, whether you're dropping off curbs or not. Pretty important.
Yeah, so it's going to determine really what bike you're going to go for. And if you're going uphill, you definitely don't want a heavy bike, so that is going to be really important when purchasing a bike. But once that's sorted, what else do you think you need? What would be tip number two? So you got the bike sorted.
I'd say you want to get some way of getting your stuff from home to work. So I bring my lunch most days. I've got maybe a change of shirt, phone, wallet, keys, anything else I might want to take to work. So somewhere to put that, whether that's a backpack, you might have a small bag on your bike, a frame bag. I use a bum bag, very unfashionable, but it works. What kind of thing would you use?
I would use a backpack personally, and sometimes you can get a cover over it in case of rain
cover.
And especially if you live in Sydney right now.
Yeah, it's been wet for a while. I have pulled out a shirt out of my bum bag and it's soaking wet, so have a wet morning sitting in the office. But usually, yeah, rain is not such a big thing for us, but rain cover is always useful, for sure.
Yeah, so definitely you need some level of storage. So get that sorted. And then what you would need are some essentials, right? Because we've all been there and done that. Like on the weekend, Peter and I went for a ride, and how many flats did you?
Three flats. 3 flats. So I went through all my spares and half of his spares.
Yeah.
But when you're riding to work, you probably want to get in the office on time, and being able to change your flat or fix something that might be wrong with your bike is super important, and being safe on the bike, that comes into part of the kit that we have.
Yeah, so let's start off with the multi-tool. So we have an NC multi-tool here, and then we also have a pump. And these are necessary, right?
Not when you're only commuting, but all the time.
All the time, yeah. And a multi-tool, what is that good for?
I mean, anything that comes loose, which when you're commuting does happen. I say if you're doing a lot of road riding, there's a chance that you probably won't ever see big bumps and curbs, things like that. If you're commuting, things get bumped and knocked around a bit. So having a multi-tool that allows you to do up a loose cable, or maybe your saddles come loose, maybe you've had a bit of a crash, maybe your bars are not quite straight. Being able to change that on the way to work is something you'll be able to do with a multi-tool.
Yeah, so multi-tool, definitely essential. Then you have a pump for obvious reasons. If you do get a flat or you notice your tire pressure is a bit too low and you're impacting your the rim of the wheel, you definitely want to use the pump. And lights. Safety for me.
Yeah, now we're going
key.
into the winter months.
Yes.
It's darker. Lights are important.
You don't want to go anywhere without visible clothing and lights, especially rear lights, so drivers behind you can see you properly. Typically, a lot of lights will have different features, whether that's the blinking feature. I like that personally.
Or solid, yeah.
Or
sometimes
solid.
during the daytime. So a lot of people ride with a red light during the daytime if they feel a bit more comfortable having all the cars see them from behind. So having a good bright light that has a few different functions, not only flashing but steady, is also good. It allows drivers to gauge a bit of depth when you're riding. So that's what I prefer, to have a steady light on, so drivers can see how fast or slow I'm going. If you're flashing really fast, it can be hard in the dark for drivers to judge distance. And then you got a front light. So
Yes.
Bright front light is good. You do see people riding around with real small kind of button-sized front lights that give a little tiny blink, but ideally you want to have your own light that lets you see where you're going, because if you come past an intersection or a small street, you might be doing a little by-street. No street lights, can be pretty dark. Having something with at least, we've got a 600 lumen light here. I'd say around 400 plus is really good. If you can go up to 1,000 is great. Depends how long your commute is. If you've got a small commute, you don't need such a big battery, so maybe you don't need the brightness. But if you're riding for more than half an hour or so, you should keep in mind having a pretty big battery, and they usually come with more lumens. So Yes, 400 plus, 1,000 if you're doing a long one.
And I'd even run this during the day, especially around bends, so people can just see you. It's kind of like a peace of mind. Make sure you always have your lights, and then you can really enjoy riding your bike, because at the end of the day, that's why we're on it, right? To stay fit and healthy, and I love my bike.
Peace of mind,
Yeah.
makes you want to ride more, a bit more comfortable. That's good.
And next we have a helmet, right? So probably one of the most important, well, it is one of the most important features of a bike. Don't go anywhere without a helmet. And the reason being?
I mean, you've only got one head.
Yeah, and that's it. It doesn't grow back.
Yeah, doesn't grow back. I mean, I have a couple of different helmets, and I use different helmets for different purposes. For commuting, I have a road helmet, because it's nice and lightweight, well ventilated. I don't need much of a peak when I'm riding to work because it's not that long. But if you're riding where you go between sun and shade, you might want to look at a helmet that has a peak on it, a bit easier to see. And I also see a lot of commuters with helmets that are old. So even though you think you're just riding to work, 10, 15 minutes, I would say after a year and a half, 2 years, you probably want to just throw that helmet in the bin and get a new one, because they definitely have a lifetime. They get bumped, they get dropped. Even if you don't think you've had a big accident, maybe you did, it's definitely worth changing it for something that suits and keeping that 2-year lifetime in mind when you're looking at maybe replacing.
Yeah, and if you do drop your helmet, always replace it. I think that's a big thing. A lot of people don't realize that if it's a small drop, you could still have a little fracture in the helmet, and that could compromise the ability of the helmet to protect your head.
And it's cheap.
Yeah.
When you think about it, helmets are cheap for what they do.
And next we have the trusty old raincoat, because you do not want to be caught in the rain, right, Peter?
Yeah. I mean, I ride in the rain a lot. I don't really carry a raincoat, but many days I regret it. Not for being wet, but it's more for keeping the warmth in. So when you're commuting or riding in the rain, if you do get wet, that might be fine, but you will get cold. So having something that takes some of the edge off the wind really helps. And a little spray jacket, that's what these are called, nice and lightweight. You can really tuck it down into a pocket somewhere, stick it at the bottom of your bag. You don't really need to think about it until you really need it. But just to make sure you have a bit of peace of mind, if it does rain, you don't want to get too cold. You can imagine if you get a flat and it's raining, you might be getting cold, then you have a jacket on, it's a bit more bearable.
Yeah, and essentially, when you have your essentials, you're good to go. And again, you can enjoy the bike for what it is, and not have to worry about getting hit, and being safe and being seen at the end of the day.
Arrive
really
to work, better frame of mind.
Yeah.
I always find that I'm totally awake when I get to work, because I've already ridden to work, had a bit of effort on the way, so I'm totally awake. And then rolling home, luckily it's downhill, so just sort of chill out on the way home. It's a good way to relax, or do a longer ride. So if you have a really nice day outside, you've ridden to work in the morning, you can do a longer ride on the way home just to enjoy yourself. So if you're in a car, it's a bit hard to do. You might have to go home, get changed, get your bike, go out to the trails or out to a loop. If you're riding to work, you still always have that option.
So why do you ride to work?
For
What's
me,
the main reason?
For me, it's faster. I mean, I only care about efficiency. So if I can get to work at the same time or a couple of minutes slower than a car, then I'd ride to work, because I can shower at work. I don't have to deal with any traffic. I know exactly how long my ride is. It's between 14 minutes and 16 and a half minutes if I miss one set of lights. And I have that. For me, it's a bit of peace of mind knowing exactly when I can leave, when I get there. Whereas in a car, it seems like everything can change. And everyone seems so angry when they're in a car. So I get to work pretty chilled out.
Yeah, me, not so much efficiency. Mine's the exercise, getting my structured training in, especially when you look at time management. You're working all the time, you have kids, you have responsibilities. How can you actually fit in riding your bike? And a great way is commuting, right? Whether that's easy to get to work and hard, when you go back home. But it feels good. You just feel relaxed and feel, like yourself again. Have you ever seen that Snickers commercial? Where
No. Eating
it's
a
like you're not
Snicker
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are our tips. So to really consolidate, you have pick your bike for the route. Number 2 is how you're going to store everything. Storage.
Yeah. Where are you going to put stuff?
Yeah. Number 3 is essentials. So looking at your pump, looking at your lights.
Safety kit.
Yep.
And comfort stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning into episode number 3 of the Bike Shed. And now we're on to the challenge.
Yeah.
And this is the BO headquarters race on the Urbano challenge.
Yeah.
Which will be a lot of fun.
Internal office challenge.
And whoever loses will have to do what?
We were coming up with some heavy stuff that would make your commuting less comfortable, and we're going to have just a couple of bricks. So whoever loses has got to ride home and back the next day with a couple of bricks in their bag.
And let's keep in mind here, this 2 bricks.
2 normal household, standard Australian normal bricks.
And I have an 80-kilometer ride home, and you have...
Mine's about 6.
Yeah, so hopefully I don't lose. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so we're doing the Urbano Hot Lap Challenge, part of our top tips challenges. We got to build the Urbano, do a loop around the office, come by, grab this. Whoever wins doesn't get to ride home with 2 bricks in their bag. Simple, normal challenge.
I don't know. Devan is putting a little bit of pressure now. He said like he won the last one. I still put my money into Pira.
Pira.
I've bet $100 in the guy from the left.
Now I got the pressure on myself.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, I'm not going to bother with the pedals.
Why isn't this working? No. Oh, there we go. Now it's working.
Oh, wait, I'm just doing my helmet up. There we go.
Whoa.
Oh, what an easy win. Thank you.
I would say something though. I think this is
No, I just...
officially disqualified.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You didn't even... and you didn't even put the...
I'm not gonna bother with the pedals.
Yeah,
No, I did
You
everything.
don't need the pedals.
Yeah.
You need to at least keep
Nah.
on the bottom
Well,
bracket.
I agree with Diego. Disqualification. Unless you want to go one more time. Quick.
I reckon I can still beat
You have...
Smoked it. Yes.
Yes! Winner!
He was just a mile behind.
Winner, chicken dinner. And that concludes episode 3 of the Bike Shed. And we want to know, who do you think won? Peter or myself? Do you think Peter should have been disqualified?
I mean, I did a loop. That's good enough.
But the pedals weren't done properly.
Yeah.
Or the seat.
Very unsafe. I agree.
So let us know in the comments below. Until next time. That's
Thanks. Stay classy.
it.